Welcome back. Sumaira Abdi caught up with Hemant Vora of ICICI Securities to find out what he thinks about Archie's strategy of primarily focusing on rural and semi-urban markets. And this is what he has to say. Take a look.
Hi Hemant.
Hi.
Now Aachi Masala this week. What is it about this company that appeals to you so much?
I think Archie, one single factor which I believe very strongly about this company is the way they have created a distribution network. And this company manages about 600 SKUs and they distribute across more than 1 million retail outlets. And all these things that they have achieved is in a span of less than 20 years. For a company like this to achieve this kind of a scale and a distribution network, which very few companies today have, I think it's really commendable for them.
No, I take your point. Okay, in 20 years they have managed to grow to 1,000 crores, but their main market is, say, rural or even semi-urban for that matter. Here, this is a market which is very price sensitive, right? So perhaps volume growth comes at the cost of margins. Is that the right strategy for them, or do you think at some point they'll need to start focusing at high margin products?
I think very clearly for consumer companies, the most important thing is that how do you manage your distributors, stroke retailers, and how do you manage your end customer. So these are the two things which are extremely important. I think they have spent a lot of efforts and a lot of money in terms of the way they design and engineer their product. The R&D has really come out with some kind of products where they are able to not only distribute but also leave a huge margin for both the retailers as well as the consumer. I think that balancing act between these two is something which Archie has played extremely well. And as you rightly mentioned, it is a semi-urban stroke rural market. So the idea is to give them the product which they are currently missing in their portfolio. And that's something which excites the customer and even motivates the retailers to go and sell out much in the market.
Yeah, but how many products do you give a consumer, right? One might even say that their R&D division is overproductive. Okay, they have 140 products. Could this be a case of over-diversification? Have they spread themselves too thin?
I think as long as there is a demand for the product, as long as there is a demand for that category of product, I mean, why not? I think which is what Archie has been able to do. They have been able to identify those gaps very clearly and then provide them those, products which kind of the customers are urging to have. And that's really played very well. So yes, I agree, it's a 600 SKUs, it's quite a huge number, but it is selling because consumers are picking it up, retailers are more than eager to sell it.
But don't you think this kind of a business strategy requires way too much workforce and deep pockets?
Not really. I think, Archie has really played a strategy very well. So what they have done is, instead of spending too much money on, advertising the products, on Archie's side, the advertising the mother brand is something which they have been continuously doing. As far as product is concerned, the way they market is they leverage the distribution network. They put the product into the market first and then very carefully decide on the ad spend to communicate with the consumer. So that strategy has worked extremely well. Rather than marketing the product first, they have actually distributed first and then communicated with the customer.
Yeah, they actually sound like they're just about right to hit the IPO market, should they?
Very much. I mean, the company is now, this year, they'll cross 1,000 crores. Okay, and they have been doing extremely well, both in terms of, profitability, in terms of margins and all. I think they are the right candidate. This will actually, sink in very well with their strategy to go pan-India in a very short span of time. So I think IPO is something which is must for them.
Okay, so you mentioned their need to grow into a pan-India company, right? So a lot of their products right now are very geographic centric, right? Pickles in certain parts of the area are different from pickles in the rest of India. Could they actually grow into a pan-India brand? What will be the challenges for them?
Of course. I mean, today if you look at pickles, which traditionally used to be, a southern India or a few parts of western India, that's something which is becoming a very homogeneous product nowadays. So every household across the country is now looking for, pickles, jams, and all these things are very much on the table today. And it's becoming a daily affair for people. And that's the reason why this company actually decided to even launch the non-vegetarian set of pickles today. And which, to everyone's surprise, it's picked up extremely well. Today they have a pickle category of almost about 10 to 11 varieties, and including veg and non-veg both. And that's something which has been doing extremely well.
Yeah, so pickles is making its way into the main course, yeah. But they're essentially first-generation entrepreneurs, right? So how would you rate the promoters on a scale of 1 to 10, or even in comparison with their peers?
I think if you see Mr. Isaac personally, he is extremely passionate. What he brings to the table is, he was working with a consumer company earlier, right? And that's when he decided to quit the job and start something on his own. He's one guy who actually is extremely passionate. Not only in terms of distributing his product, but even to see that how he motivates his team. He himself visits most of the distributors. He personally visits most of the distributors himself, and even his sons. If you look at Abhishek, who takes care of the marketing piece, even the corner side, the small little shop, they would know him and he would know them, and the way they communicate is basically as if we are friends. So they are able to go down to that level, communicate in such a manner that they feel there's an ownership feeling even at the retailer level. So that passion is something which is now being driven right within the organization up to the last leg. So that's something which is what is driving the company overall.
Okay, so they have a few niches for sure, right? So the management style, even some of their products for sure. But India as a consumer of masalas has some giants in this space already, right? So MDH, Everest, these are guys who have a bulk of the market share. On a SWOT analysis sort of level, do you think these Aachi Masala can actually shake some of these bigger competitors, grab some more market share from them?
Very much. I think there's a room available very clearly, and as you rightly mentioned, MDH, Everest, these are some of the names of repute which have been there in the country for so long. But Archie, the way they started with the Tamil Nadu market and slowly moved into the other states and the southern market, and now moving into the western and northern market and even the east. Okay, very clearly shows that they have been able to gauge the pulse of the customer very clearly. Number one. Number two is, in addition to masala, they have been able to offer various other products. Okay, so pickles, for example, you mentioned about it. It's a completely new addition. They also have ready to cook, ready to eat segment, which is completely new. They have cakes, they have gulab jamuns, and they have a huge variety out there. So the combination of masala and this entire variety is something which is helping them, which I don't think the competitors today really have. I think they are still focusing largely on masalas, whereas Archie has moved. Masala still continues to be one of the important component, but they have actually been able to add various other components to their portfolio.
That's true actually, because I believe they're also targeting the South Indian diaspora in many of their export markets, right? So 20 years, 1,000 crores. But what do the next 10 or 20 years hold? What is their vision for the future? I
think the vision is very clear. They want to become one of the leading FMCG players in the next 5 years' time at a pan-India level. They are absolutely clear about it. So while we are talking about Aachi Masala Foods, which is largely into food, they also have another company within their group and within the family ownership, which is into non-food segment, the personal care products. And that segment also is making its own move into the market today. So they have got a variety of products within the non-food segment as well. So they are very clearly poised, very clearly focused to see that how we can become one of the leading FMCG players at the pan-India level in the next 5 years' time. And Mr. Isaac is really driving that strategy right up to the last level.
Yeah, and a good time to do that as
Absolutely.
Well, what a dream. Hemant, thanks very much for speaking with us.
Well, that was Hemant Vora telling us why Archie has grown into a formidable brand in less than 2 decades. On that note, it's time for another short break. When we come back, we look at the road ahead for the company. Stay tuned.